Subscribing to The Observer on YouTube couldn't be easier, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. First, navigate to www.youtube.com/theobservernj. Once you get there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click the down arrow and then all. And that's it. You're subscribed, and now anytime The Observer is live, you will be notified. Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Knessa coming to you live from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 15th day of April in the year 2025. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesdays, no matter where you are in the country. And as we do each and every Tuesday to start off the program, Tony Mondero, the longtime director of the Harrison Weather Center, joins us, and he is here as he is every Tuesday to join us. Good afternoon, Tony.
Good afternoon, Kevin. And did Mom enjoy the snow up in Newton over the weekend?
3 inches of snow in Newton, and that was not something she was very, very happy about. In fact, I got a picture sent to me by text, and she said, "You're not going to believe this. Take a look at this." And the whole backyard was covered, but it melted pretty quickly, so that was good at least. I'm glad. I don't like when they have to go out, her and Mike, to shovel because they're getting up there a little bit, and it's not easy to. Mike's got a big plot of land out there too, so going out and shoveling that is not always a good thing. But luckily, it all melted.
Well, the Easter Bunny's going to bring some milder air in, but before we get there, we're going to have to endure maybe a couple of rain showers this evening. And then it gets cool, very windy though. If anybody's out and about around rush hour into this evening, any after school activities and sports outside, be careful, especially if you're around any trees or anything that's loose that can blow around. Winds, Kevin, could gust later on this afternoon into this evening with patches of a front between 40 and 50 miles per
Oh,
hour
okay.
before they start to die down overnight. But even tomorrow, winds could gust still to 40 miles an hour. So we'll get a brief break overnight from the gustiest winds. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the higher elevations around us see a isolated gust of 50 miles per hour after this front comes in. It's going to be much cooler, and but for the weekend, it looks dry and it looks mild with temperatures in the 60s and plenty of sunshine. So not bad. Going back into the snow a little bit, it seemed like Lyndhurst, North Arlington were on the cusp of getting some of that frozen precip. Even had a report down in Harrison. I was out and about, left Harrison around 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. We had rain, but by the time I got to Lyndhurst, it mixed with a little wet snow and some sleet. And my brother Charlie up in Whippany, off of Whippany Road up there, Hanover Township, he had about a trace of snow. And my buddy Eric up in Sparta had about 2 inches, and also had a report from Hewitt up there in Passaic County at 5. And it looks like the jackpot was up in High Point State Park. They measured 6 inches of snow at High Point.
6. Okay, now High Point's not too far from my mother, so I guess they're not as they're about 900 feet. I know High Point's a lot higher than that, but it's still 6 inches. My goodness, not something you see too often in this month. I guess we're going back to 82 again, and it always comes back to that 1982 storm. But it was still that's still 6 inches, appreciable amount of snow for April, isn't it?
Absolutely. For this time of the year, it's getting late now, being tax day, April 15th. I know I just got my taxes in under the wire yesterday. My CPA drops my tax returns off, and Tony likes to pay his taxes on time. I submitted to him in late February and just came back yesterday, and it looks like we did pretty good this year, thankfully. So you know, it's that time of the year with taxes.
Oh God, yeah, I know. I know a couple of people like Bernadette Antonelli, Brianna, her daughter, and Denise Facito. I'm sure they're all going to be happy that they get to recuperate a good portion of their lives back now that the 15th is passing. I guess it's about another week before they really start to get into the to the we can kind of chill finally. But I don't envy any of these accountants and people who do this for a living. What a 3 4 month period it is. They're constantly working all hours of the day, all hours of the night, weekends, you name it. They don't get home too often. So I guess a
Well, it's
lot of
like
people.
you're the weather guy. The weather guy's the same thing. You know, sometimes I'm surprised I don't fall asleep on this show. You know, to
Well,
be
what
honest with you.
you had mentioned maybe 60s for the weekend, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think low to mid 60s on Saturday, especially on Saturday. It might cool off to maybe the lower 60s on Easter Sunday, but there's no precipitation right now in the forecast. But remember, Kev, we're shooting this on and recording this on a Tuesday, a lot of times, and and you always say, "Hey, Tony, if there's an update, anything pressing, you can come on Friday." But even last week, which not was going to affect us last week, so if it was going to be 6 inches of snow here, I would have been emailing you on Friday morning and say, hey, look, we need to do a spot with the weather for snow. And we see that coming, especially this time of the year. You got a few days to see that. It's something that will affect us late in the week. The models were hinting at something like that when we were on last week, but nothing was locked in. And then in 24 to 48 hours, things got a little clearer that Northwest Jersey could got some snow.
And unbelievable. If you're just joining us, Tony Mondero, the Harrison Weather Center, is here with us. Tony, we have been talking about weather mostly today, but we can't not mention our favorite baseball team. Not a bad start. Another victory last night in Minnesota. But you were mentioning to me that Jose Siri broke his tibia. What's going on there? I didn't notice
Yeah,
that.
before the tibia. Now he's out. Now they're saying maybe Acuna will play center field, and I'm hearing rumors maybe Kevin Canessa might get a club and play center field.
You don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. I said I don't think I'd want to play in Minnesota though either. Though it was cold out there yesterday, and it seemed like there was like 200 people in the stands.
Well, Gary Cohen at game time said it was 48 degrees, and now the Sunday I went to City Field was the Sunday of opening weekend. It was
Hmm.
52, and it was pretty chilly. I'm glad that we were able to go inside. I usually get Hyundai Club seats there. That's where you can find me at City Field. I love that place only because it's climate control and it's almost like you have your own bathroom. So once you go to a club once, you don't want to go back into what I call Gen Pop.
Yeah, seriously,
And,
with all the
it's
peasants. My
always a fun
God,
time. Yeah. And
man.
they're still a little mad at me because they get a picture a couple of years ago with Mr. Met. ran over a 7-year-old kid, but the Mets are slowly letting me saying, "Hey, take it easy, Tony. Everybody can get their picture with Mr. Met."
So, what else is on the agenda for the week? You had anything big planned, or is this just kind of one of those regular weeks for Tony Mondero?
Well, I'm
Nothing.
gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you, Kev. In retirement, I always wanted to clean my basement.
Mm.
Always. It was a 25-year wait. Finally got down there. 4 months and counting. Well, now we're dotting I's and crossing T's. But man, when it was all apart, I said to myself, "My God, what did I do?" Now it's all come together and everything's getting there. Now we actually have a planned semblance, and also because of this show and my dedication to the Observer Live, we now have a backup site in the Weather Center in case something happens to this computer. We're able to go downstairs. We'll have a nice little backdrop, and we can do the show down there as well. And next time you're over at the Weather Center, we'll show you what we did. And what we did there is we made a little family office where we have a printer and a copier, a computer, a TV. They made that nice, and that was a storage room. We changed it into a small office. So
Wow.
Tony Mondero is a busy bee when we're not doing the weather and off the air.
Well, we got to get that. We got to do that sooner than later. I'm really looking forward to that. I think I don't think it's. I don't think I've ever been inside the Harrison Weather Center, which is great. Been outside it many times, but I do have to get over there very, very soon.
Well, Kev, this is broadcast to the public, and I want to say to you, in front of the public, Kevin, Canessa, you have an open invitation along with the staff and Lisa at any time. Even though Lisa's a Yankee fan, we will still let her in.
I think that would be a nice gesture. It really would be. As painful as it is, it will be a nice gesture indeed. Tony Mondero, thank you so much for this and for doing this every week. And we will see you either in a week or maybe on Friday, depending on how the weather pattern develops. How's that sound?
Absolutely, Kevin. It was our pleasure. Remember, folks, like and subscribe. And Kevin, back to you and have a great show.
Thank you, Tony. We'll talk to you soon. There he is, the one, the only, the immortal Tony Mondero of the Harrison Weather Center. I always enjoy getting a chance to speak with Tony, and we often break into the Mets. So I apologize to all of you Yankee fans out there, but just deal with it. Now, before I get into a couple of other things, I want to start off with this because I got a phone call earlier today from Deborah Garcia, who told me that she had heard that there had been some break ins in vehicles over in the area of Davis Avenue, Hickory Street, and Ivy Street. And I just got off the phone with Kearney Police Chief Scott McPhee, and I'm happy to report that, yes, well, not happy to report that there were indeed break ins, but that four people are in custody. Three of them are juveniles, one is an adult. My understanding is that the four people who were out and about looking to ransack cars, steal from items inside cars, were themselves all in a stolen vehicle that came into Kearney. And they then went about their business on Davis Avenue, on Hickory Street, and on Ivy Street. And Deb was telling me at about 5:30 this morning, the lights were on, the ring camera went on, and the detectives were out in the early morning hours. In fact, not only were they out, they were on their shift is over, but they're still in police headquarters working to do all the paperwork and all the things associated with these break-ins and whatnot. But the bottom line is, if you had seen on your Facebook feeds or wherever it is that you do your social media, that there was some kind of incident in that neck of the woods, it is indeed true. But the good news is that the four people who are believed to be responsible for these crimes are all in custody. And of course, whether they stay in custody is another story because with bail reform that a lot of times we see these guys putting in an extra effort, working way past the time they're supposed to be home. These guys get arrested and then they wind up going before a judge, and the judge just lets them go. So we'll let you know. But if that's where it stands right now, the four people who were responsible for these crimes in the area of Ivy, Hickory, and Davis are all in custody. Unfortunately, they did break into a lot of cars, several cars, and vandalize them. But luckily, nobody was injured. And this happened at one of these incidents happened at 5:06 a.m. That's very risky doing something like that at that hour because God only knows people could be getting up and going to work at 5:06 a.m. And it's a good thing that nobody was hurt in the process. Now, before I get into some other things, I have a whole bunch of people that I got to welcome in today. Have not said hello to everybody yet. June Hearn is here watching us. Barbara Condon is here. Manny Ventoso Jr. here, who celebrated his 60th birthday yesterday, is here with us as well. Belated happy birthday, Manny, my dear friend Manny Ventoso. Mayor Dan Pronti from North Arlington is here with us. Kenny Evans, John Drimkowski, Bill Scarterfield out in Arizona. Billy, good to see you. John Pino is here as well. And Debbie Garcia is here. Lori Bradow is here with us. Carol Manley is also here, as well as is Larry Handlin. There are a lot of folks in the chat room, so it's good to see all of you here today. Now, some housekeeping items. Project Graduation Volleyball Tournament is upcoming on the 25th of April at Kearney High School. The doors open at 5:30. The games begin at 6:30. You see there are 6 matches, not necessarily in this order, that will feature the Kearney High School teachers against the seniors, the firefighters against the cops, the Board of Ed versus town employees, Franklin School against Washington School, Garfield against Roosevelt, and Lincoln against Schuyler. Now, this is the big fundraiser, one of the big fundraisers of the year for Project Graduation. If you don't know what Project Graduation is, you've been sleeping for the last 20 some odd years. And this is the day where they After graduation, take all of the graduates to an undisclosed location and give them the night of their lives and all sorts of great activities that do not involve any alcohol or drugs, things of that nature. And any money that is raised at this volleyball tournament will go toward this special day, and it's an incredible cause that's been in town for 20 some odd years. I always forget the number. Melanie Ryan would know exactly how many years Project Graduation's been going on. But this volleyball tournament is a principal fundraiser, and it's coming up on the 25th of April. So if you have nothing to do, this is always a good day. And as Melanie always reminds me, this is one of those days where if you haven't seen a lot of people and you want to kind of just get caught up with a lot of friends who you may not see necessarily on a regular basis, this is where to do it at the annual volleyball tournament. But again, that's coming up on the 25th of this month. Also on the 25th, the mobile mammogram screening will return to the town of Kearney. This, of course, Ava Landowski is handling this through her. This is her Girl Scout project, and this is another one of those things where women who cannot necessarily afford a mammogram will get one if they cannot afford it, and it's right there at town hall. So if you are in need of a mammogram and you are a woman 40 years of age and older and have not had one in the last year, you are eligible. So make sure you scan that QR code and register for it as soon as you can. In fact, if you need to, just pause this video right now and scan that QR code so that you can get the information that you need in order to register. This event, Hunger Free, in partnership with Table to Table, is coming up on Saturday, this Saturday, the 19th, from 9:30 to 11:30 or until supplies are exhausted. It's over at the American Legion, 314 Belgrove Drive. There are no questions asked. If you need food, you will be provided with plenty of food. And as I've said many, many times already, when you talk about what County Executive Craig Guy is doing, this is part of it, all of it. He wants no one in the town of Kearney or any towns in Hudson County to ever go hungry. And there are so many wonderful programs that are being offered in this town. So take advantage of it if you need to or if you'd like to, because it's right there. And they'll be there until supplies are exhausted or 11:30, whichever comes first. And I need to thank Councilwoman Mary Trine DeCastro for reminding me about all these events. She sent them to me last night. I was already asleep, but I did get them nonetheless, and I really appreciate that she's always looking out to see what's going on, as Melanie does as well. And the actual annual town cleanup is coming up, and that, of course, is on the 19th, and that's from 9:30 until noon. There's a whole bunch of sign up locations that you can see here. This has been going on for ages as well, and it makes the town look better. It just does. It's a great way to spend a day making your community a better and a greener place. So if you have nothing to do on the 19th, head on over to one of these locations that you see on the screen right now. Feel free again to just pause it, and you'll get all those locations, and you sign up the day of, and they'll provide bags and gloves and things of that nature. All you got to do is have a gung-ho spirit, go out and help to clean things up on the 19th. This is this week's front page. Food Fanfare is the headline. And last week, I had a chance to go over to Kearney High School when Jessica Barone was doing the food challenge with her culinary students. And this was a project that was coordinated by the UEZ with Linda DeIsa. It was a great idea that Linda came up with, in so much as to involve the high school students with local eateries and businesses. They all made a tremendous dish involving or surrounding risotto, and there were winners and judges who were members of staffs from some of the local eateries. It was a tremendous afternoon, a morning, it really was. And I want to thank Curtis Brack, the principal, Flora Incarna Sal, for inviting us, and of course, Linda for putting all of this together. And Jessica Barone, who just does a phenomenal job with her husband Matt in the culinary program. Kearney High School has a culinary program that is second to none. It really is. And if you don't know enough about it, you got to learn more about it because there's so many great things that are going on at the high school that are just beyond college preparatory type of things. And that is always a great thing. And I was really, really honored to be invited to be there for this great event last week. And believe it or not, my understanding is they're going to do this every year. So, great job by Linda pulling that together. Now, sticking at Kearney High School, they had their first ever career fair too. Curtis Brack invited all representatives from trade schools, colleges. The Kearney Police Fire Department was there. DPW was there, and all sorts of other places where kids are exposed to the world outside of going to college. There's so much more than just going to college. And this career fair was a complete success. It really was. And it was open to not just seniors, but it really gave the student body an opportunity to see what's available out there. And so I want to thank Curtis Brack for sharing this with us as well. This just happened to be this week that there was a lot of Kearney High School things that were going on that we would be talking about in this week's edition of the paper. So don't forget to pick it up, read it, and go through the entire edition. Don't also forget that there are 2 pages of classifieds this week, so if you're looking for a place to live, if you need a job, anything of that nature, you're gonna find it in this week's classified section here in this week's edition of The Observer. And believe it or not, that's it for now. I want to thank everybody who was here with us today and for joining us. Also, want to say hi to Carmen. I didn't get a chance to say hi to Carmen earlier. And Lori Bradow says that the project graduation started in 1996, so that's 29 years. That's pretty remarkable. 29 years of keeping kids safe on graduation night. Thank you, Lori, for putting that in the chat room. I appreciate it very much. Don't forget, we will be back either Friday if there is news to bring you, or on Tuesday of next week. And anything in between that happens, we will join you live to let you know all about that as well. So, from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, it's Kevin Canessa signing off for now. And we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesdays, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.